Part 28. Dimensional Chosen, Only I Know Saitama is the Strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 271. Butterfly House. Fangya had just finished training last night. On his way back, he happened to meet Ten's hero who had completed the task alone. "Mr. Ye, are you going to complete the task too?" Ten's hero greeted him familiarly. "No, I just finished today's exercise. Maybe because of my strength, Yubayashiki-sama didn't let me do any tasks without technical content." Ten's hero. "With your current strength, the exercises you do should be very intense." Ten's hero looked at Fangya, a little curious about what his training was. "Not bad." Fangya scratched his head, thought for a while and said, 10 kilometers of jogging, 100 sit UPS, 100 push UPS. Ten's hero. "Is it just like this, Mr. Yet?" "No, I occasionally do a few more on a whim." Fangya said. Ten's hero, who had always been cheerful, suddenly didn't want to talk anymore. "Why don't we start the same 10 kilometers from tomorrow?" Tenziro thought back to the scene where Fangya suppressed Yiwozuo alone, and then thought about the amount of exercise Fangya mentioned just now. Isn't it really a bit mismatched? The two of them were walking towards the butterfly house, when suddenly there was a noise inside. "Put me down." "Bad guy, put down Sister Zayakui." "Human trafficker, you are a human trafficker." Ten's hero. "No, something happened to butterfly house. The girl is in trouble, let's get over there quickly." Fangya nodded, and then the two of them rushed to the butterfly house. When they opened the door, they saw a tall man holding Kanzaki Aoi with one hand and holding Neo up with the other. "Pay attention to the words you use when you speak to the gods," the man said loudly. Immediately afterwards, the little girls swarmed up and hugged the tall man. "Let those girls go." Ten's hero yelled subconsciously, and then he saw everyone sitting around. Who is making things difficult for whom? Achizuji ran over crying and shouted for Ten's hero for help. "Please save Neo and Sister Zayakui, this human trafficker is going to kidnap them. Let that girl go." Ten's hero yelled and rushed forward to headbutt the man. Suddenly, the man disappeared and appeared on the roof. So fast. Ten's hero couldn't help but exclaimed. "Put them down quickly, you trafficker." Ten's hero pointed at the man and roared. "Who do you think you are talking to? I am the famous Yuzui Tianyuan in the ninja world. Pay attention to your words. For a guy like you, I don't think you are a pillar." Tenziro immediately responded. Yuzui Tianyuan was choked, and then said quietly. "Please pay attention to the situation. I am taking them to perform a mission. Zayakui is a logistics worker and doesn't have to go to the front line to kill ghosts." Yuzui Tianyuan snorted disdainfully and glanced at Kanzaki Aoi, who was struggling in his arms. "You are a miserable person who can't even face ghosts. Let me change your destiny. Miss Quay has no use for you. Everyone has their own destiny. Don't think you are the one who killed me by 1,000 cuts." Ten's hero spoke again. "It is because of your compassion that she is now like this." Ten's hero saw that it didn't make sense and quickly changed his words. "Then let me go on the mission with you." "You," Yuzui Tianyuan looked at him funny. "And us?" Two voices suddenly appeared. They were Inashuk and Zenitsu, who had just returned from the mission. Inashuk, although it took some effort to carry out the mission, the impact was not big. "Shanyi, let go Zayakui, I will go with you." Yuzui Tianyuan looked at the three of them, and then turned his attention to Fangya, who arrived with Tenziro. "And you?" Spreading his hands, Fangya nodded. "Then I'll go with you." Letting go of the two girls in his arms, Yuzui Tianyuan jumped down from the roof. "Then come with me." Then, he led the four people out of the yard. The five people walked far away before Zenitsu realized something was wrong. Where are you taking us? Hearing Shan Yi's words, Yuzui Tianyuan turned around and said mysteriously. The biggest place for love fish, the holy place to vent, Flower Street. The three protagonists seemed to have been struck by lightning and stayed where they were. Fang Ye already knew the plot, so there was no big change in their expressions. Where are you taking us for? Zhang Yi asked again. My wife is missing. Go find her whereabouts. What? The three people were surprised and asked. You actually used your private rights to ask us to help you find a wife? Why don't you go yourself? Yuzui Tianyuan felt unhappy with the questioning of several people, and looked at everyone with a dark face. First of all, you didn't question my qualifications. Secondly, my wife disappeared while investigating information about ghosts. I am a god, you are scum, you must listen to me. If I ask you to pretend to be a dog, you will pretend to be a dog. If I ask you to pretend to be a monkey, you will pretend to be a monkey. Do you understand? Shan Yi. Fang Ye. Is this God? It's obviously crazy. On the contrary, Tan's hero took it seriously and asked curiously. So what kind of God are you? Yuzui Tianyuan glanced at him appreciatively, nodded and said. Very good, young man, you have a great future. Janai, there is a future for ghosts. Are there any normal people here? Turning his head, Shan Yi saw the same speechless face. He suddenly felt that there are still normal people in this world. He quickly came over. Yuzui Tianyuan made a stinky gesture and said. I am the god of splendor and sacrifice. Tan's hero. Tan's hero was also stunned, finally realizing that the man in front of him was a bit unreliable. Hearing Yuzui Tianyuan's words, Inashuk said oh and said solemnly with his hands on his waist. I am the king of the mountain, nice to meet you, god of sacrifice. Are you stupid? Yuzui Tianyuan's eyes showed contempt, and he looked at Inashuk with disgust. Zenitsu and Fang Ye were standing aside, and they were unable to complain about such a situation. After a long time, a few people finally finished the trouble. Yuzui Tianyuan looked at everyone and issued the next order. Before going to Flower Street, I want to take you to a place. It's a good place, many girls are there. Girls. Zhen Yi was excited. Then, the four of them followed Yuzui Tianyuan to a shop with flower petals carved everywhere. Yuzui Tianyuan. You guys wait here, I'll buy you some clothes. As he said this, he walked into the store. The four of them looked in through the gap and immediately felt that something was wrong. It seems to be a store selling women's clothing. Tan's hero said uncertainly. Possible, let's go and give clothes to his wife. Janai has already begun to sweat. Dimensional chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 272. The four of them were called in by Yuzui Tianyuan. Soon, he led four people out. Behind him, the three protagonists have changed their appearance. It's a pity for you, you are too tall, otherwise you should be the first one to be sold. Yuzui Tianyuan looked at Fang Ye with a little regret. At this time, Fang Ye had changed his clothes. He was wearing very casual clothes. Behind him, Tan's hero, Inashuk, and Zenitsu were miserable. At this moment, they were wearing the lady's kimono and her face were painted with thick rouge. These are all the masterpieces of Yuzui Tenjin. So what, it's not bad, this is the masterpiece of the god of gorgeous sacrifices. Yuzui Tianyuan had a confident smile on his face, admiring the costumes of the three of them. Fang Ye stood beside him, almost bursting into laughter looking at the three people dressed in women's clothes. After a long time, Yuzui Tianyuan waved with satisfaction. Tanzi, Shanzi, Zuzi, let's go and find you a good home. Yuzui Tianyuan and Fang Ye walked in front, and the three of them followed with small steps. It's so hot. It's so hot. This is the first time that Inashuk is dressed so neatly, he shouted repeatedly. He even stretched out his hand to take off his kimono. Stop. Yuzui Tianyuan stopped him and hit Inashuk's stomach with his right fist without any sound. The latter fainted instantly. Zenitsu jumped and quickly helped Inashuk knowingly. Mr. Tianyuan, why do the three of us have to dress up like this? Tanjiro pinched his throat and asked in a falsetto. Chalcedony Tianyuan turned around and whispered to the three of them. Because I have 3 wives. With that said, Yuzui Tianyuan took out the photos of his 3 wives from his pocket and passed them around to the 4 of them. When it was Zenitsu's turn, he actually let out a cry of surprise. What? You crazy guy actually has 3 wives? And one is more beautiful than the other. Asshole. It's unfair. Zhang Yi shouted loudly, completely forgetting his current identity. Bang. Another punch. Zhen Yi also fainted. Fang Ye quickly stepped forward, and Tanjiro held one up. You two, remember, this is not only the scope of human activities, but also a gathering place for ghosts. What? The 2 of them exclaimed in surprise. Yuzui Tianyuan nodded and continued. I suspect that my 3 wives were kidnapped by ghosts. We had been in contact through the Tiger Crow before, but during this time they lost track. My 3 wives are all good ninjas. I suspect there is strength here. I'm not a weak ghost, but due to my identity, I can easily attract public attention, so I'm calling you here. As he said this, Yuzui Tianyuan paid attention to the changes around him at the same time. During this period of time, I will keep wandering around Huaja. As long as there is news, it will be delivered to me as soon as possible, or pass it to him. Yuzui Tianyuan said, pointing to Fang Ye. Then he looked at the latter and began to explain. Now that you are a consumer who circulates in Flower Street all year round, you must remember the store where you bought 3 of them and monitor the progress from time to time. Fang Ye nodded. At the same time, Yoshiko and Inozi also slowly woke up. After receiving a punch, they were honest and followed a few people with their mouths closed. The 5 people were walking on the street and quickly locked onto each other. The target was reached. Yuzui Tianyuan walked over first and said to an old couple at the door. Old man, what do you think of these girls like me? With that said, the 2 people got out of the way, revealing the 3 protagonists behind them. The 2 old people looked at it blankly for a while, and it took them a long time to react and said slowly. Oops, what a careless little girl. Looking at the embarrassing makeup of the 3 people, the old man on the right shook his head. I'm really sorry, it's a bit inconvenient for our family, and we just hired a few girls some time ago. As he said that, the old man looked at his wife beside him. The wife looked at the 3 rough-looking little girls carefully and hesitated for a while. Oops, it's okay to take one. Then please accept one, old man. Yuzui Tianyuan said politely. At this moment, he had taken off the decorations on his face, his gray hair was naturally scattered, and his 2 slender red phoenix eyes were very attractive. Pedestrians coming and going on the road looked here from time to time. The old woman thought for a while and said with a smile. Then let's take the kid in the middle. He seems to be honest. May I have your name? My name is Tanzi, I will work hard. In this way, Tanjiro was the first to join the 3-person team. The 4 of them walked on the street, looking for a suitable store. You 2 are really rubbish, you have no choice but to jump off the building and sell it. Yuzui Tianyuan looked at the remaining 2 and said, hating the iron. At this time, Shanyi was full of complaints and stared at Yuzui Tianyuan's face fiercely. Yuzui Tianyuan, what are you doing? What's that look? I told you in advance, no matter what, you must obey my command. Shanyi. At #Yuan%. He kept looking at Fang Ye and Yuzui Tianyuan. The two of them were wearing loose kimonos at the moment, and their exquisite figures were looming, which was very eye-catching. Zenitsu's inner dissatisfaction became even greater. Let's not talk about women's clothing, then anything is fine, but what's going on with your faces? Ordinary ones are very handsome. Are you kidding me? Look, there are a lot of people over there. Inosuke turned a deaf ear to Yuzui Tenjin's displeasure, pointed at the crowd not far away and shouted loudly. I told you, stop talking. Yuzui Tianyuan took a step forward and covered Inosuke's mouth with his big hand. Not to mention your ridiculously rough voice, your falsetto is also ugly enough, and your identity as a boy will be exposed as soon as you speak. Then, he looked in the direction Inosuke pointed just now. Ah, isn't this the Warren parade? His eyes passed through the crowd and fell on a very beautiful woman. She was the Warren Licia of Rinya at that time, and she was very popular. Yuzui Tianyuan explained carefully, this was an old woman walking over. She kept looking at a few people, and finally her eyes stopped on Inosuke. Sorry, we will accept this girl. Is it really possible? Yuzui Tianyuan was overjoyed. I'm from Daibenwuo, so I won't make any mistakes. The old woman covered her mouth and smiled, her eyes constantly lingering on Inosuke. In this case, it would be troublesome. Thank you so much to Daibenwuo. Yuzui Tianyuan clasped his hands together and thanked with a smile on his face. Seeing Inosuke being taken away by the old woman, Yuzui Tianyuan waved hypocritically. Goodbye, Inozi. Seeing that the only remaining partners were chosen, Zenitsu panicked. At first, Ten's hero was chosen, and now it was Inosuke. He was the only one left in the three-person protagonist group. Oops, I'm the only one left. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 273. In Daiben's house, the old woman who bought Inosuke wiped the sweat from her forehead. That's it? Although this little girl was painted in all kinds of weird ways before, she looks very pretty after being wiped clean. It looks like I've found a treasure. I want to train Inoko to be a rookie who can surpass the then Natsuwaran and Kigokuya Warabihime. Pack it up, pack it up. The two of them dragged Zuzu, who looked reluctant, toward the inner room. By the way, isn't this kid surprisingly strong? Wouldn't it be better if the meat was bulging? It feels soft and cute. It's better to say it's hard than a fleshy bulge. Meanwhile, Zenitsu found his own store. Even though it was given away for free. At this moment, Shanyi was sitting in the middle of the crowd, his eyes were glaring, and the veins on his hands were bulging. He is playing the musical instrument called shamisen hard. That kid is really good at talking about shamisen, but he's a bit ugly, new here recently. Yes, it is said that because my hearing is very good, I can play any instrument I have heard. She does look a bit ugly. Who says it's not the case? The store is actually willing to ask for it. Although the two of them deliberately suppressed their voices, Shanyi's hearing was indeed very good, so he could naturally hear their truth clearly. Zenitsu plays harder. Let you bastards not think favorably of me. I must become the number one Warren in Yoshiwara. It is said that it was sent by two handsome guys. They are different types of handsome guys. They are all handsome. Really? Of course, it is said that the madam was stunned at the time. That's no wonder. Is he really that handsome? I want to see too. At this time, the madam who they said was stunned appeared behind them, took a puff of the pipe, and said softly. I can see that kid will keep climbing. Eh. The two people who were discussing just now were stunned. The madam continued. I can feel his drive to strive for excellence, as if he wants to retaliate against the man who abandoned him. He is still very strong. As he said that, the madam couldn't help but think of the scene when he met her on the street. He saw the handsome guy with white hair patting Zanza's head vigorously. Otherwise, I'll give it to you for free. You can ask her to clean the toilet or do anything with this kind of thing. A smile appeared on the face of the old bustard. He took a deep look at Yoshiko, and then left. At the same time, Toki ya. Tan's hero, no, Tansy has become the object of discussion. Tansy, please give me these, can you hold them? Don't worry, I'm very strong. Tansy said, with two big boxes in each hand and a bundle on his head, he walked steadily towards Li Xia's room. What a great strength! Yes. After going round and round, Tansy found his destination. This should be it. Opening the door open with his foot, Tan's hero walked in. There were two young Warrens chatting inside. The proprietress of Kigokuya recently fell to her death from the window. Have you heard about it? Of course I have heard of it, and during this period there are more and more sisters who are excessive. Have they all disappeared? It's terrible. Let's be careful. The conversation between the two aroused Tanshiro's interest, so he put down his baggage and walked over. What is pumping enough? The two of them noticed Tanshiro's arrival and looked at him with a smile. Xiao Tan, don't you know what pumping your feet is? Daizu means running away before paying off the debt, but if you are caught, it is said that it will be very miserable. Although I have run away with the man I like before, it is rare. Wasn't that the previous Suma Warren? How alert Tan's hero is, he quickly noticed the Suma Warren mentioned by the two of them. Isn't the Suma Warren Mr. Tenjin's wife? I have to ask quickly. That. Just as Tan's hero was about to ask, a voice suddenly came from behind him. Stop talking about other people's rumors. Yes. The two nodded and said nothing more. Li Xia waved towards Tan's hero. Come on. Yes. Tan's hero walked over with steps. Thank you for helping me move my things. I'll give you some snacks. Let's eat some secretly by ourselves. Li Xia took Tanshiro's hand and gently put a pack of snacks into Tanshiro's palm. Warren. Warren. People also need to eat snacks, people also need to eat snacks. The two little guys came over and shook Li Xia Warren's body. With an embarrassed look on their faces, Li Xia Warren said. No, didn't you just eat? Seeing that the three people ignored him, Tan's hero didn't want to let go of the opportunity in front of him. That. Has Suma Warren had enough? Lixia's eyes flashed with doubts, and she stared at Tan's hero and said. Why ask this? Oops. Tan's hero instantly realized his abruptness. If you can't give a legitimate reason, you will definitely be warned. Then you will definitely not be able to ask about Miss Suma. Then, Tan's hero looked strange, his body trembled, and he said word by word. Because, Miss Suma, be mine. Tan's hero spent a lot of effort to squeeze the next two words out of his mouth. Sister, elder sister. The three people on the opposite side felt as if they had been struck by lightning in an instant. After the elder sister, was the younger sister also sold here? Li Xiaohuaqi's eyes flashed with a hint of unbearability. What a tragic fate. Right, but I haven't seen my sister for a long time. During this period, we have maintained contact through letters. With my understanding of my sister, he shouldn't be a person who can run away. Li Xiaowaran nodded, so that's it? In fact, I think Suma is a good boy who is willing to work hard and is not a person who can get enough. There has never been any sign of being addicted to men, but someone found that she wanted to masturbate in her diary, so. Li Xia became a little disappointed. However, that's all I can think about. I haven't heard any news about being caught. Even if I draw enough, I'm lucky. After listening to Lixia's words, Tan's hero focused more on Takuzu. This is a very favorable condition for ghosts. As long as the person disappears, just say it's a scam and it won't arouse any suspicion. Miss Suma's diary is probably a disguise. At this time, Yuzui Tianyuan had restored his clothes and stood on the eaves to inspect the entire flower street. There is nothing unusual today. If you are not too hungry, these things will not show their tails easily. Could it be that he could conceal ghost energy like this, winding? The enemy is in the dark, and I am also in the dark. It feels like there will be a super gorgeous fight. Dimensional chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 274. Kyogoku House. Inashuk, who was dressed up very cutely, kept wandering around the store, trying to find useful information. Is this Janayu's house? Inashuk looked at the door where he was visiting the room for lunch, and quietly walked over. Suddenly, Inashuk's hair stood up. He felt a strong ghost aura. Pitter-patter. There are footsteps on the ceiling. Bastard, you've been exposed. Feeling that the enemy was escaping, Inashuk didn't hide it. He grabbed the udon bowl on the ground and smashed it towards the ceiling. Bang! A big hole was made in the ceiling. Ghost energy that was so rich that it was almost sticky surged out. Inashuk suppressed his nausea and chased after the sound from the ceiling. You can't run away. With a loud roar, Inashuk felt the ghost on the ceiling turning a corner, and he followed it. Ouch, isn't there a cute girl? A wretched-looking man stopped Inashuk, and put his big, hairy hands on Inashuk's shoulders. Are you interested in playing it? I have money. Go to hell. Inashuk was anxious, seeing that the ghost on the ceiling was about to escape. In desperation, he punched the pervert in the face. Bang! The man flew out upside down and broke the wooden door. Yeah, beating someone. Hateful. With a low drink, Inashuk felt something was wrong. Have you already run down there? Inashuk looked around, but the space perception of the beast's breathing couldn't sense the ghost's position. Damn it, it's all that brat's fault. Inashuk ran out, still sensing with spatial perception. Damn it, lost it? At the same time, on the other side, Zenitsu put down the shamisen in his hand. No, what will happen even if you learn shamisen? Do you want to keep working here? Zhenyi calmed down and walked around the store. She wanted to ask about the death of the previous proprietress of Kyogoku House. But everyone looked very heavy and didn't know where to start. Suddenly, a burst of crying came to Zhenyi's ears. What happened? Did anyone cry? Zhenyi's ears twitched and he followed the sound and looked for it. Shula. Shanyi opened the door and saw a mess inside. What happened? Why is the room in such a mess? Zhenyi looked at the woman who had been crying and felt so manly. The girl turned her head, her face was covered with scars, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth. What's going on? Did someone hit you? Did you have a fight? Could it be? A bad thought flashed through Zenitsu's mind. The girl suddenly covered her face and started crying again. Are you okay? I'm not yelling at you. I'm just, if you have any questions, you can follow me. Before he finished speaking, Zenitsu felt a chill on his back. The hair on my hair stood on end and I got goosebumps all over my body. Behind him, a woman with gorgeous makeup was glaring at Zenitsu. Veins popped up on his forehead, and he shouted sharply. What are you doing in someone else's room? Zenai was too frightened to speak. The ghost energy behind him was so solid that it almost liquefied. Drops of cold sweat slid down Zenitsu's chin and dripped on his kimono. It was the voice of a ghost. Ghost's breath. So strong. At this moment, Zenitsu realized it clearly. There was an incredibly powerful ghost standing behind him. Zenitsu didn't even notice the person's presence before he was called. Hey, are you deaf? Didn't you hear me talking to you? The person behind him still said sternly, frowning and looking at Zenitsu's trembling back. Hearing the sound here, two more little girls came over. They recognized the identity of the woman at a glance. It's Fernheim Warren. Another person explained to Zenitsu with a trembling voice. That person just came here recently, so. So what? Talk. Fernheim glared at the two people behind her. At this time, Zenitsu reacted, turned around and looked at the face of the ghost behind him, and then said. Sorry, I didn't mean to break in. Please don't blame me. Because this kid's room is a mess and he's crying. Weriki looked at Zenitsu and raised her eyebrows. You are so disgusting, you are so ugly. You might as well die if you are so ugly. And what's the matter with your hair color? Isn't it eye-catching enough to look like this? But. Fernji walked slowly and walked into the crying girl. This room is indeed a mess. I have ordered people to clean it, but it seems that someone is disobedient. He grabbed the girl's ears and lifted her up like that. Sorry, I'll clean it right away, please forgive. If the girl cries, she will beg for mercy, but this will make Werabihime even angrier. It's so noisy, can you shut up? As he spoke, he threw the girl to the ground heavily. Fernji raised her palm high again, about to hit her again. At this time, a hand suddenly grabbed her arm. Fernji was stunned for a moment and looked along the palm of her hand. Past. It was the girl I just called ugly. What to do? Veins popped up on Fernji's face, obviously very angry. Please, let go. Bang. The next second, Zenitsu flew out upside down. And Werabiji only used one palm. She broke a door and Zenitsu fell unconscious in someone else's room. Fern Princess Warren, please don't hit him. An old woman held Zenitsu in her arms and begged for mercy. We are about to start picking up customers. If this continues, today's business will be over. Boss, look up. Fernji waved, and the old lady who was lying on the ground raised her head. A gentle smile appeared on Fernji's face, which was completely different from the ferocious look just now. Sorry, boss, the newcomer really needs some discipline, so I'll ask you to heal her. I'm going to start putting on my makeup first to get ready for the guests. Fernheim said, instructing the experienced maid to prepare a makeup box for him. While putting on makeup, Fernheim looked at Zenitsu who was lying on the ground through the mirror. There were many thoughts in her heart. The feeling just now was unexpectedly hard. Although there was no he fought back, but subconsciously used a defensive posture. He was not a pillar-level warrior, but an ordinary demon slayer. Werabihime thought to herself, with a smile of successful conspiracy on her face. She twisted a piece of red paper in the makeup box. The lips pursed slightly. The lips were painted, so red they were almost dripping with blood. Haha, although it was a waste of time and energy, but, I finally took the bait. Demon Slayer Squad, long time no see. Fernji said softly, still adjusting the delicate makeup on her face. Come on, I haven't eaten Ghost Hunter for a long time, and I almost forgot what it tasted like. Watch me annihilate your entire army and eat you all. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 275. Flower Street. In a deserted corner, several members of the Demon Slayer squad gathered here. A ghost appeared, and I could feel that the ghost's aura was particularly strong, but a kid got in the way when I was chasing after him, and I lost track of him. Inashuk said bitterly. If I see that kid again, I will definitely knock him unconscious and throw him into the mountains. Inashuk. Ten's hero stopped him. We are ghost hunters, who specialize in hunting ghosts. We cannot harm ordinary people. Otherwise, what is the difference between them and ghosts? Inashuk waved his hand. But that ghost is really strong and has very strong concealment methods. It can't be found beyond a little distance. Sure enough, there was a winding ghost on the opposite side. Yuzui Tianyuan looked into the distance with tangled eyes. At this moment, he had resumed his demon slayer outfit and was carrying two Nichiren swords with circular gaps behind his back. It's all my fault, your friends won't be coming for a while. You said, Zenitsu? Ten's hero asked in a trembling voice, his eyes full of disbelief. However, at this moment, everyone gathered here, but my wife Zenitsu was nowhere to be seen. Yuzui Tianyuan nodded and said in a deep voice. We have lost contact since last night, and can't feel the kid's aura. According to the rules of the Demon Slayer Corps, disappearing for more than one day is considered a sacrifice. It's all my fault. Misjudgments have happened many times regarding my wife. Let's go. Waving his hands towards a few people, Yuzui Tianyuan stood up. The online battle is not something you can participate in. This is my business alone. With that said, Yuzui Tianyuan disappeared from the place, leaving only a voice. If I can rescue your companions, I will try my best, but, hope is slim. The three of them looked at each other. A battle on the string? Can we really not participate? Zenitsu can't, is it really dangerous? Tanjiro looked at Fang Ye, who was the strongest among the three. He shook his head. Didn't Mr. Tianyuan say that he would disappear for 24 hours, less than 10 hours have passed since we lost contact. Everything is still undecided. Instead of thinking too much, we should take action. But Ten's hero hesitated to speak, his face full of hesitation. Yuzui Tianyuan said, this is not a battle we can participate in. Nonsense. Inashuk couldn't help it anymore. He raised his right hand and put it in front of Ten's hero. He clenched his fist slightly, and the word appeared on the back of his hand. Now we are already G-level ghost hunters, ranked 4th from bottom to top. The ratings of the Demon Slayer team members are divided into 10 levels. A, B, C, D, E, G, Gang, Xin, Ren, and Aoi. A few of them were the lowest Aoi level ghost hunters before. But after what happened last time, and the experience of many missions, he has become a Gang level ghost hunter. Well, I will go to your Daiben house tonight. If there is a ghost, you must wait for me. Ten's hero said, ready to turn around and leave. Bang. Inashuk slapped Ten's hero on the head. Everyone said that there is a ghost in Daiben house where I am, so go now. Inashuk hated that iron could not become steel, so he slapped Ten's hero one after another. It hurts, stop taking pictures. Ten's hero quickly begged for mercy and then told his reasons. If it was just in the Daiben house, that would be easy to say, but if so, wouldn't it be difficult to deal with the bloodstains after the ghost kills someone? I suspect they have a secret passage or something like that. It's very possible that you and Zenitsu encountered the same ghost. Is that so? Inashuk understood. He put his chin on his head and began to think. Looking at the two people who were deep in thought, Fang Ye suddenly had an idea. However, at this stage, he needed to investigate in person. Why don't we sort out our equipment now and get our respective Nichiren swords first? This way, even if we encounter a ghost, we won't have any means of resistance. Makes sense. Inashuk agreed. Then, the three of them left separately. Inashuk returned to his house and put strength on his feet. The pig advances suddenly. Bang. Inashuk jumped hard and his head hit the ceiling directly. Rats, bring me my knife. Two people slowly walked out of the darkness. The very fit mice each held a sun disk. This was specially trained by Yuzui Tianyuan to facilitate a few people to hide their identities. Putting on his own clothes and a boar hood, Inashuk seemed to be reborn. Damn evil ghost, I'm here. On the other side, Tanjiro put on his Demon Slayer uniform and carried Medusa to the room of the Koinatsu Warren. "Miss Lixia, I take the liberty to disturb you, I am leaving the house." As he said that, Tanjiro placed a cloth bag on the ground. "Could you please transfer the expenses and food expenses that were taken care of by your boss during this period to your boss?" Kixia Warren heard the sound and turned to look at Tanjiro. "Xiao-tan, are you dressed up?" Looking at Tanjiro's clothes and the big box he was carrying, Li Xia was a little confused. "Because I was pretending to be a girl, I kept hiding this outfit, but in fact I am a boy. There are many reasons for this, so please don't be offended," Tanjiro said sincerely. "I know." Tanjiro was confused and looked at Li Xia at a loss. "You can tell at a glance that you are a boy, even by the sound of your voice. Although I don't know what happened, it must be something very important." Li Xia walked over and gently helped Tanjiro tidy up his clothes. "You should really want to rescue your sister Cosima, right?" "Yes." Tanjiro responded loudly. "I won't lie, I will definitely rescue Misuma and the missing people." Looking at his appearance, Li Xia smiled softly and fell into silence. After a while, Li Xia said with a smile, "Thank you then. This will make me feel a little more at ease, but..." Li Xia smiled brightly. "I will leave here in the next 2 days. I never thought that someone would be willing to marry someone like me." "Really? That's great." Hearing the reason for Li Xia leaving, Tanjiro was sincerely happy for her. However, Li Xia still had deep worries on her face. "Because of this, I am even more worried about everyone staying here. Although I have always felt that the disappearance of Cosima and the others is suspicious, I have never been able to investigate it." Tanjiro sniffed and smelled a hint of guilt on Li Xia. "There's nothing you can do about it, but please don't blame yourself." After listening to Tanjiro's words, Li Xia smiled and looked directly into his beautiful eyes. "Xiao-tan, I don't want you to disappear either." Looking at the kind-hearted Li Xia, Tanjiro smiled knowingly. He slowly lowered his body and said goodbye to her. "Goodbye Miss Li Xia, I will definitely see you again in the future." Before she finished speaking, Tanjiro's figure disappeared into the room. Li Xia turned around and continued applying the delicate makeup on her face. Suddenly, there was a sound of footsteps behind her. "What's wrong? Forgot something?" What came into my ears was a female voice. "That's right, I have to eat you first so I don't forget." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 276. If I don't eat you today, you will leave here and be hard to find, right, Li Xia? Fernji wore several belts around her body, exposing her figure. She licked her lips and looked at Li Xia with an aggressive look. Tanjiro left the room and walked slowly on the roof. It was already night, and evil spirits would probably hunt humans at this time. We must not let her succeed. While walking, Tanjiro suddenly stopped. What does this smell like? Sweet and greasy, not good. Reacting, Tanjiro immediately turned back. It's a ghost, Miss Li Xia is in danger. Quickly shuttled through the room, Tanjiro quickly came to the room just now. Bang! Kicked the window and Tanjiro climbed in. Oh! Is he a kid from the Demon Slayer squad? Fernheim sealed Li Xia into her belt and looked at Tanjiro with aggressive eyes. How many people are there in the Demon Slayer squad? That ugly kid with yellow hair is your team member, right? Is Zu coming? Judging from your weak strength, you should not be a pillar, it looks much worse. In this case, I don't need it, you know. Fernheim stood there, about to complete the seal on Li Xia. Even with the arrival of Tanjiro, she did not feel a trace of nervousness. Dirty ugly monsters and old things are not what I need, understand? After saying that, he actually passed by Ten's hero. The moment Ten's hero didn't react, he was hit hard and flew backwards. 2 walls were smashed in a row, and Ten's hero lay down on the ground. In ruins. My body is paralyzed, probably because of the impact on my back. I didn't swing the knife immediately just now, maybe because I was afraid of ghosts. I'm really strong. Putting the box behind him on the ground, Ten's hero patted the box. Me does I can't take you with me this time. Don't come out unless your life is in danger. Suddenly, the sound of fighting came from outside the window. Someone encountered a ghost. No, I have to get there quickly. The breath of water, the shape of Si. Hit the tide, chaos. With a knife, he cut away the gravel around him, and Ten's hero rushed out. He saw a figure fighting with Werabihime. Mr. Yet. Ten's hero shouted, and then a frenzied tide surged towards the evil spirit. Bang! The ground was shattered, and Werabiji jumped up to avoid the blow. Just now, Fang Ye followed his memory and came here, and suddenly he encountered Feng Ji jumped out of the window. Fang Ye took action decisively. Mr. Ye, this ghost is on a string, so be careful. Tenshiro's birth reminder. Dozens of belts shot out from Werabihime's back and flew towards the 2 of them. Raging flames. The sun sword in his hand burned red instantly, and Fang Ye waved it hard. All the embroidered belts that were coming towards him were cut off, and drops of blood seeped out from them. Vampire magic. Fang Ye raised his eyebrows and noticed the belts on Fernji's back. One of them had the face of Li Xiaowaran printed on it. The next second, Fang Ye extinguished the flame on the blade and suddenly stood in front of Fernji. So fast. Suddenly appeared, Fernji quickly recalled her belt for defense. Turning slightly sideways, Fang Ye passed through the intensive attacks, raised the knife and dropped it. Snap! The belt with Li Xiao's face printed on it was cut off, and Li Xiao's figure gradually appeared. Fang Ye exploded with speed. While using the Nichiren sword to resist the attacking belt, he picked up Lixia and came to Tenshiro's side. Miss Lixia fainted, but her life is probably not in danger. Please take care of her. Tanjiro nodded and took the unconscious Li Xia from Fang Ye's arms. Don't worry, Mr. Ye, this evil spirit's belt has the ability to seal people. Don't get caught. Do not worry. Fang Ye smiled softly, and his whole body shot out towards Fernji. Looking at Fang Ye's face, Fernji couldn't help but chuckle. A nice face, much better than those treasures I have, but countless belts wrapped up Fernheim, which looked like a huge cocoon from a distance. I will capture you alive and enjoy it slowly. Fang Ye stepped forward and turned a deaf ear to Fernji's words. He slashed down the sun blade in his hand, directly cutting a huge hole in the huge cocoon. The next second, the surrounding belt disappeared instantly and penetrated into Fernji's body. What tricks are you doing? Fang Ye shouted softly, and the sun blade in his hand instantly changed direction. Bang! The sun blade struck Fernji hard, cutting off one of her hands. With the help of Fang Ye's huge power, Fernji flew out upside down. Is it a pillar? What a terrifying strength! A look of horror flashed across Fernji's face, and her mind was filled with thoughts of running away. Wait until I eat all the treasures, and then I'll catch you alive. As she said that, Fernji ran away in the opposite direction. At this moment, she had changed her appearance, her black hair turned into white hair, and her body was covered with black lines. Want to run? A low voice came from behind. Fernji froze and couldn't move forward. She turned around and saw that Fang Ye had appeared behind her, holding one of her feet in his hand. If I let you run away, wouldn't I be very sorry for those who were harmed by you? With a strong left hand, Fernji's right leg was torn off directly. A large amount of blood spurted out, and the sun blade in his right hand went straight to Fernji's vitals. He tried his best to turn his body, but Fang Ye still cut off half of his head. Flying out upside down, Fernheim used her self-healing factor to recover from her injuries. The broken leg grew back in an instant, and there were still squirming flesh buds on her head. It seemed like it would take some time. Those living people were brutally killed by you in this way, but they do not have the same recovery ability as ghosts. Fang Ye shook his wrist, and the blood-stained sun blade was instantly clean. Do you think this is fun? What do you think of life? Looking at the accidentally injured person, lying on the ground and wailing uncontrollably, Fang Ye felt a surge of anger pouring out of his heart. Bang! Fernji smashed the bricks with a punch, and Manchester United said cruelly, "I don't care about those disgusting things, I am a ghost now, they should be eaten by me. Ghosts are the most beautiful and powerful beings. They will never run out of food or a place to sleep. They can do whatever they want." Fernji's expression began to become ferocious, and a trace of blood oozed from the corner of her mouth. Enough, so much nonsense. With a cold shout, Fang Ye pointed his knife at Fernji. "I'm coming to kill you now. Then come and try it, vampire technique, 8 levels of belt slashing." The ribbons shot out from the body and shot at Fang Ye from various tricky angles. Too slow. Fang Ye swung his knife, and several ribbons were cut off with this knife. Die. At this time, Fang Ye had already come to Fernji, aiming at her neck and swinging the knife. Crack. Clenching his teeth, her neck had turned into a ribbon, which was very soft and tough. Fang Ye's Nicaran knife only cut half of it in, there will be no effect. How could someone like you cut off my neck? Dimensional chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 277. Seeing that the Nicaran sword in his hand failed to cut off Fernji's neck with one strike, Fang Ye didn't have much emotion. Raging flames. Boom. The flames instantly surged along the blade and wrapped directly around Fernji's body. The flames were rolling and burning, exuding a terrifying temperature. They directly wrapped Fernji's head. The blood mixed with the grease baked by the flames, making a crackling sound. Ah! You bastard! Fernji retreated violently, peeling off the skin on her head while running away. There was a stabbing sound, and the flesh and blood were torn off by Fernji. The flames instantly wrapped around Fernji's arm, and she was about to invade. Contaminated by God. Faced with the unstoppable flames, Fernji was cruel. All her arms were broken off. Dragging her broken body, Fernji burst out with extraordinary speed. She disappeared from the sight of the two people in an instant. "Mr. Ye, don't let her go." Ten's hero shouted anxiously, took out the Nicaran sword from his waist and was about to catch up. After shaking his head, Fang Ye walked up to him. "In addition to Zenitsu, there are also 3 wives of Mr. Tianyuan, and many others are probably imprisoned in this way." Pointing to the remaining ribbon on the ground, Fang Ye explored Li Xiao's neck. Feeling Li Xiao's weak heartbeat, he felt relieved. If Fernheim dies, those imprisoned by him will most likely turn into ashes, which will cause too much damage. What to do? Tanshiro's eyes were full of anxiety. "Warabai has been living here for a long time, so you don't need to think about it to know that many people must have been imprisoned. Just save them before she does it." Fang Ye said lightly. "As long as the ribbon with their faces engraved on it is completely cut off, there will be no problem. Then let's go quickly, otherwise the evil ghost will definitely eat people to increase its strength." Ten's hero carried Lixia to a shop on the roadside. "Good." Fang Ye nodded, and then walked quickly in one direction. Ten's hero also twitched his nose, smelling the ghost spirit remaining in the air. "Mr. Ye, this way." Ten's hero pointed in one direction and reminded loudly. Fang Ye nodded, and his speed became a little faster. Tanjiro chased with all his strength, and the two of them quickly walked through the streets. Strange, why is there no smell? The two of them suddenly stood still and looked in all directions. Tanjiro twitched his nose hard, but his brain clearly told him that the ghostly energy disappeared out of thin air right here. Mr. Ye, we seem to have lost track. Tanjiro looked at Fang Ye for help. No more ghosts. Fang Ye nodded, as if he had thought of something. But Tanjiro was very anxious and had no time to think about it. Could it be that he went back to Kyogoku House? Mr. Ye, let's rush there. After listening to Tanjiro's suggestion, Fang Ye shook his head gently. I have already passed on the news that Mr. Tianyuan should be over there, and Fernji should not seek death. As he said that, Fang Ye picked up the Sunlun knife in his hand and kept tapping it on the ground. Bang bang. The iron Sunlun knife collided with the ground, and there was a hollow sound. That's it? Fang Ye said softly, sheathing the sword at the same time. A serious punch. The punch hit the ground, and terrifying cracks began to spread in all directions. In an instant, the floor tiles of half a street were cracked by the punch, and from a distance it looked like a terrifying spider web everywhere. Fang Ye slowly pulled out his fist, and the ground had been penetrated. A faint firelight shone from inside, accompanied by the sound of fighting. That's it, hurry in, Inashuk and the others are already here. Fang Ye reminded Tanjiro in a low voice, and punched the ground again. The punch hole was directly enlarged to a diameter of 2 meters, and the sound of fighting became more obvious. Fang Ye jumped in first, and Tanjiro followed urgently. The hole in the ground, there was a torch inside, and the walls were stained with blood. It stinks. Tanjiro couldn't help but cover his nose. The smell of corruption here made him want to vomit. Keep up, it sounds like Inashuk is about to lose his strength. With a reminder, Fang Ye rushed in the direction of the sound. Tanjiro hurriedly followed. As the two of them went deeper, the smell of flesh and blood became stronger. Finally, they saw the battle between the two. Kagura, the god of fire. Tanjiro rushed forward with the breath of fire lingering at the corner of his mouth. Round dance. The brilliant flames formed a ring around him and struck directly on the crisscrossed ribbons. The ribbons gradually dissipated, and a figure with yellow braids fell out. Tanjiro saw this and was not only displeased. It feels ugly, but it also feels kind of friendly. Zenitsu. Tanjiro helped Zenitsu up and found that he was sleeping. Bang. There was an explosion. Fang Ye quickly stepped forward and caught Inashuk, who flew out. Asshole. Inashuk spat out a mouthful of blood and struggled to rush forward. Fang Ye looked into the hole and saw the figures of two women. Master Tianyuan will definitely come, hold on. Zuyu, I can't hold it anymore, I will definitely die. Remember to tell Master Tianyuan for me that Xiao Suma will love him forever. The black-haired woman was crying as she used the kunao in her hand to pin the incoming ribbon to the wall. The force was so great that the handle of the kunao was even driven into the wall. So cruel. Inashuk, have everyone been rescued? Fang Ye asked Inashuk. Of course, Inashuk-sama is invincible, but those ribbons can regenerate and are very difficult to deal with. It's easy to say that you are here, protect those women who fell on the ground, Inashuk-sama is about to charge. This bastard woman dares to beat Inashuk-sama into such a state of embarrassment. It will be very difficult for me to handle it if my hands and feet are constantly broken. Fang Ye automatically ignored Inashuk's complaints behind him and slowly pressed his right hand on the handle of the knife. Now that we've all been rescued, it's easy to say. Take a deep breath, and the almost stagnant breath came out of Fang Ye's mouth. Slowly taking a step back, Fang Ye closed his eyes and looked at Fernji, who was recovering. You actually dare to chase them. When I eat them, you will die. Fernji shouted violently, and several ribbons burst out from her body. They actually aimed directly at the ordinary person lying on the ground. Not good. Inashuk yelled. He had been talking just now, but he didn't guard against this female ghost. Just when the ribbon was about to touch those women, Fang Ye's figure disappeared instantly. A straight sword light instantly penetrated the entire cave. The sharp breath even left knife marks on the wall. Fang Ye's figure flashed past, and stood behind Fernji again. Snap! Snap! The ribbon was cut off by Fang Ye's knife, and fell off wriggling on the ground. Fernji's eyes widened, filled with disbelief. Good, so fast. Dimensional chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 278. A streak of blood slowly appeared on Fernji's thin white neck, and then her head tilted and fell. At this moment, a sound of thunder came over. Immediately afterwards, a figure rushed out from the thick smoke and dust. Lord Tianyuan. Zuyu and Xiao Sima shouted excitedly when they saw who was coming. Tianyuan noticed the two of them instantly and ran over quickly. So you are here, where are the ghosts? Suma cried and jumped up, hugging Tianyuan's head. Master Tianyuan, Xiaoxuma thought I would never see you again, Weavu. Zuyu ripped off the Suma and threw it aside, standing alone in front of Tianyuan. Lord Tianyuan, that ghost has been killed. Looking in the direction she pointed, I saw Fernji kneeling on the ground, holding her head in her hands. She was still murmuring. How is it possible? I am the string. You are too weak. Fang Ye swung his knife to shake off the blood on it, but still did not relax his vigilance. How is it possible? I am a winder. Look at my eyes. There are words on it, winder. Land. Even Lu is not that weak. Tianyuan walked over, feeling the ghostly aura emanating from Fernji, and couldn't help but shake his head. Too weak, you are not what I am looking for. You. Fernji was speechless, and her head trembled as she rolled down. Brother, come out quickly, my head has been chopped off. If I don't come out, I will die. Elder brother. Amidst the shrill screams, Fernji's body began to change. Her body fell down, and strange protrusions began to grow on her back. What a terrifying murderous intention, this is the real ghost. Seeing the changes that happened to Fernji, Tianyuan's eyes widened. At the same time, he slashed out with both swords in his hands. Remove, disappeared. Tianyuan looked at the spot, Fernji was no longer here. Mr. Tianyuan, they ran away. Tan's hero smelled the strong ghost aura and said quickly. Chase. Fang Ye was the first to be involved, and he searched along the trampled ground. When he reached the street, he saw a vague figure. A man who came from nowhere was holding Fernji's head and pressing it on her neck. A fracture. What an idiot. Did you get your head chopped off by such a thing? They are just ant-like humans. The twisted man said, and wiped the injured area with his palm. It returned to its original state instantly. Brother, it's them, kill them quickly. Fernji discovered Fang Ye who was coming and Yusui Tianyuan who was rushing towards the side. I know, you stupid sister is really holding me back. With a voice of disgust, the man stood up. When he saw Fang Ye and Yusui Tianyuan, his eyes widened. With smooth skin and gorgeous clothes, you must be rich. This is really jealous. Can I ask you to die? Just die, standing here is really uncomfortable. Two ferocious sickles suddenly appeared in his hands, and the eyes he looked at the two became more and more cruel. Does it make you feel unhappy? What a blessing. Yusui Tianyuan said with a smile, and glanced at Fang Ye with a smile. By the way, where did you come from? Was it the female ghost who gave birth? It's quite disgusting that it was so big right after it came out. Yuzui Tianyuan responded unceremoniously, and at the same time noticed the words in the man's eyes. It turns out that you are the real land of Shangxian. It was really hard for me to find you. But that's it, you won't survive until the sun comes up. The man listened with a cruel smile on his face. I am Taro the prostitute, remember my name, this is the one who chops off your necks. Die in the echo of this sound. The two scythes suddenly swung out and flew towards the two of them. Clang. Fang Ye swung the scythe hard and swung the scythes out. Yuzui Tianyuan followed suit and was also unscathed. The scythes directly broke through the wall and flew high. Go up to the sky. The prostitute Taro moved his hands, and the sickle flew back. Not bad, you two have the strength to protect the civilians behind you, you are really talented. The prostitute Taro said, gritting his teeth. Of course, I have 3 wives, but being called talented by an ugly guy like you is not exciting at all. Holding a knife in each hand, Yuzui Tianyuan looked at him with disgust. What? He actually has 3 wives. The prostitute Taro seemed to have heard something terrible, and his hands kept grabbing his face, which instantly became dripping with blood. It's really disgusting, I will never forgive you. Vampire magic, full blood sickle. The blood-stained hands were waved quickly, and circular waves of blood shot out towards the two of them. Mr. Tianyuan, please take care of the couple behind you. With a low drink, Fang Ye took the lead to greet him. Don't give me orders, bastard, I'm Lord Tianyuan. He scolded angrily, but Tianyuan still stood obediently in front of the two people. Flames burst out from the sun blade in his hand, and Fang Ye kept swinging the knife at the incoming blood ghost technique. The smell of evaporated blood emitted in the air, it was very smelly. The flames formed a wall of flames in front of Fang Ye, directly blocking the blood that was shooting out. Tianyuan stood behind Fang Ye and looked at Fang Ye's back cautiously. Even if he faced such an attack, there was no guarantee of escaping unharmed. At this moment, he suddenly realized that maybe the man standing in front of her was stronger than him. The moment the blood ghost technique was wiped out, Yuzui Tianyuan stepped forward and threw several numbers in his hand. A black projectile. Boom, boom, boom. The projectile exploded instantly, swallowing up the two figures. The smoke dissipated, and a huge cocoon made of ribbons appeared in front of you. The cocoon was untied, and Werabihime was seen sitting on the shoulders of the prostitute Taro. A vertical eye grew on his forehead. We, brother and sister, are one flesh. You are different. You are different from the pillars I hunted directly. Maybe if I kill you, that adult will definitely be happy. Fang Ye looked at the two of them with a calm expression. One per person. Good. Yuzui Tianyuan nodded, only to see Fang Ye move. At the moment when his figure was rioting, he kicked Fernji who was sitting on the prostitute Taro's shoulder and flew away. Cut her neck off. Fang Ye shouted and pointed the knife in his hand at the prostitute Taro. Don't give me orders, bastard. Yuzui Tianyuan shouted, the two swords in his hands intertwined. The breath of sound, the shape of Si. The sound is endless. The two knives came out violently, making a thunderous sound in front of him. With a thunderous trend, he cut off Fernji's head. But Fernji's figure did not disappear, and her body held her head and roared miserably. Bastard, why did you chop off my head again? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 279. Bastard Bastard. Unforgivable. I will definitely tear your throats apart. As he said that, he put his head back on his head. At the same time, Fang Ye and the prostitute Taro collided head-on. The armed color was quietly activated, and the sun blade in his hand was dyed black. Clang. Two sickles blocked it. Fang Ye's attack sputtered out sparks. Vampire magic. The blood bar is domineering. With a loud roar, the prostitute Taro's arms spurted out a large amount of blood. They turned into countless blades and wrapped him up. At the same time, the blood blades continued to shoot out in all directions. Fang Ye drew his knife, kept waving. The blood blade was chopped into pieces again and again, and gathered behind Fang Ye, attacking again. Raging flames. An arm turned into flames, and a huge ball of flame surged out, swallowing up all the bloody blades. Facing the blood shooting from all directions, Yuzui Tianyuan held two swords. His face was solemn. The breath of sound, the shape of Si. The sound is endless. Thunder-like bursts of air echoed through the night sky, and the bloody blade was defended head-on. You guys run, the further away the better. Yuzui Tianyuan said to the couple behind him while brandishing his knife. There is no safe zone here, just run away. At this moment, a bloody blade broke through Yuzui Tianyuan's defense and scratched his shoulder. Feeling the pain from his arm, Yuzui Tianyuan was surprised to find that the blood was flowing along his blood vessels. Flow throughout the body. Damn it, he used poison. Yuzui Tianyuan reminded Fang Ye loudly, and at the same time urged the two people behind him to run. Finally, the two people escaped with trembling bodies. Poisoned? Ha 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 ha, my poison will flow into your heart in just a moment. Just wait for death. The prostitute Taro heard Yuzui Tianyuan's voice and smiled ferociously. I am a ninja, how can I deal with the toxicity of this garbage against Lord Tianyuan, who is the god of sacrifice? Yuzui Tianyuan shouted back, but the two people were stunned. You are lying, ninjas must have become extinct long ago in the Edo period. Fernji yelled in disbelief. After giving her a disdainful look, Yuzui Tianyuan spoke. I didn't expect that you would still be so ignorant after living for hundreds of years. The ninja family is still spread to this day, but there are only 15 brothers and sisters in our family. But 13 people died, and now only my brother and I are left. What you are facing now is the ninja god handed down from the Edo period. So what? Fernji was equally disdainful. Tell me your brother's name, and let me help your ninja family go extinct. It won't take long. Look at your body, it's already trembling. It won't take long for my brother's poison to kill you. Then there is this kid, the pig-headed boy, the ugly yellow-haired monster, and the ghost girl. Although he did not show up, I can feel his aura. You all should die together. Fernji said, controlling the ribbon to attack. Yuzui Tianyuan waved his sword to resist, but his body had begun to gradually become paralyzed, and he could barely block the attack. Are you so weak? Ha ha ha, is this a pillar level? How pitiful. Stop struggling, even if we don't do anything, you will die little by little. Just when Fernji was talking nonsense, a rough voice came. That's hard to say. I saw Inashuk and Zenitsu getting closer. Inashuk, finally here, is Zenitsu sleeping? Fang Ye looked at the two people running towards him. Shanyi still had his eyes closed, with a huge snot bubble on his nose. But it's okay, being asleep is much better than being awake. Fang Ye nodded, so that he could concentrate on dealing with the prostitute Taro in front of him. Inashuk-sama appears. And my little brother, suffer death, you ugly female ghost. The prostitute Taro looked at the two people who suddenly appeared and covered his head with a headache. What are you doing? Are we looking for death together? Don't look excited, your heads are about to move. There is so much nonsense. Yuzui Tianyuan steadied his steps and faced Fernji with his tall body. Only our Demon Slayer team will win. What a win! Fernji roared, striking everyone. Even the life-saving pillar level is already seriously poisoned. Ha 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 ha. Yuzui Tianyuan suddenly laughed, raised his left hand and gave a middle finger. You're a bastard fish that can be dealt with in 2 or 3 strokes. Poison is nothing. Ninjas are resistant to poison. Do you want me to do a dance for you? These people are my favorite stepsons. What are you bastards thinking? It's you who want to move your head, right? That's right. Inashuk was also encouraged by Yuzui Tianyuan's words and said loudly. If you have the guts, you won't run away. Even if I break your body to pieces, I still have to bite your heads off. Moreover, I have seen through your weaknesses. Yuzui Tianyuan said, looking at the two people confidently. As long as you cut off your heads at the same time, you will definitely die. Why don't you give your strength to your weak sister? It's so easy to deal with you, ha 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 ha. Inashuk, so that's it, it's so simple. Then we basically win. Fang Yet. It turns out that men really can be infected. Inashuk, leave this disgusting earthworm girl to me, and Lanjumaru, you go and deal with that mantis man. With that said, Inashuk rushed forward with his 2 swords. You bastards, go to hell. Countless ribbons came towards everyone. Zenitsu also activated at the same time, and his figure quickly shuttled through the streets. In an instant, all the ribbons were eliminated. Sister, go and deal with those 2 brats, and leave these 2 to me. The prostitute Taro said confidently, holding 2 sickles. No problem. Fernheim jumped out and landed on the roof. Zenitsu's figure appeared simultaneously. I have something to tell you. Janai's voice suddenly became calm and magnetic. Maintaining his sleeping state, Shanyi said coldly. Go apologize to the girl whose ears you pulled and hurt. Even if they have food and clothing thanks to the money you earn, they are not your property and cannot be yours to do whatever you want. Fernji was stunned, and then she realized that the man in front of her was imprisoned by her. You ugly monster, stop talking about these useless disciplines here. With such an ugly look, do you really think you are qualified to talk to me? Women in this place are no different from commodities. As long as they are chosen, they will be traded. The ugly ones are not even qualified to eat. Still want to be treated like a human being? What a spring and autumn dream. Dimensional chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 280. That's not right. Shanyi said softly. Even if others do things in a way you don't like, can you treat them the same way? Don't be too self-righteous. Fernji, if someone does something unpleasant to you, you should pay it back 100 times. No matter how much unhappiness you have suffered, you must find happiness from the pain of others. This is how we ghosts do things. Those who criticize us have already killed countless people. Prostitute Taro, the same goes for you. Just wait to be punched through the throat. As he said that, Fang Ye suddenly felt a strong murderous aura. Yuzui Tianyuan's movements also froze for a moment, and his eyes began to look serious when he looked at the prostitute Taro. Terrifying murderous aura, it looks like you have killed many people. Suddenly, the prostitute Taro's figure appeared in front of Yuzui Tianyuan, with the sickle in his hand from top to bottom, about to pierce his jaw. I have already eaten 15 pillars like yours, and you will be the 6th. Yuzui Tianyuan's eyes were shocked, and he tried his best to twist his body and avoid this fatal blow. But his cheek was still scratched, and a hideous gash appeared. Suddenly, the ceiling collapsed, and countless ribbons were shot towards the 2 of them. It's this method again. Fang Ye snorted coldly. The Nichiren sword in his hand directly gathered all the ribbons together and nailed them to the ground. Letting go of the Nichiren sword, Fang Ye's fist was filled with flames and hit the prostitute Taro. Do you still want to cause harm to me without a weapon? It's a lie to treat someone with a brain like this as a stepson. The prostitute Taro held his sickle horizontally and faced Fang Ye's fist. Watch me cut off your hands, and then slowly kill you. I'm afraid you will be disappointed. The armed caller quietly climbed up Fang Ye's fist, and the defense increased by an unknown number of levels. Boom! Fan Ye's fist collided with the sickle, making a huge explosion sound. What? What the hell kind of defense is this? The prostitute Taro's body was burned by the flames, and the sickle was knocked out of his hand by Fan Ye's punch. I told you, you will be disappointed. Fan Ye's long-prepared left fist suddenly came out. A serious punch. Boom. The left fist that had turned into flames suddenly came out. Even though the prostitute Taro twisted his body with all his strength, half of his body was still blown away. Yuzui Tianyuan stood still. In the distance, Fan Ye was shocked by Fan Ye's attack power. Such terrifying attack power and defense power, he could actually stand up to the Mantis Ghost's weapon without getting hurt? Even the rock pillars were not to this extent. Damn brat, how can he be so hard? It looks like it would be a bit troublesome to kill you. As soon as the prostitute Taro exerted his strength, the half of his body that had been destroyed grew back. However, your defense power has its limits. I wonder if you can block my vampire technique. A cruel smile appeared on the prostitute Taro's face. My blood will penetrate through your pores and reach your heart directly. As he spoke, his hands began to twist, and a large amount of blood spurted out. Full of blood. Several bloody blades shot towards Fan Ye, drowning him in an instant. Just when the prostitute Taro thought he had won, suddenly a flame shot out, followed closely by a flame that almost lit up the night explosion. Boom! All the blood was evaporated. What? On the ceiling, Inashuk and Zenitsu are facing Warabai Hime, who is growing in strength. The ribbon was cut off by her and continued to shoot towards everyone. The two kept changing positions, but there were still many cuts on their bodies. The ribbon and the bloody blade flew over together. What the hell is this? Especially this bloody blade, it feels very dangerous just by looking at it. What the hell is it that feels like it will kill you if you just touch it? The two of them were beaten and kept retreating, and for a while they couldn't get close to Fern Princess. Lanjuan, use your speed to chop off the earthworm girl's head. Bastard, do you think I don't want to? I can't rush through at all. The two were communicating, but they couldn't get close to Fern Princess at all. On the ground, Fan Ye attacked the prostitute Taro again. You brat, you're still here. Seeing Fan Ye's fists continue to expand, Taro the prostitute quickly raised two sickles to resist. Fan Ye's figure instantly appeared in front of Taro the prostitute, lowered his waist and raised his posture, and punched seriously. Boom! Another huge explosion occurred. The prostitute Taro's figure was knocked away from a distance. It smashed into several walls and was buried under the rubble. In the ruins, the prostitute Taro stood up. Has the sickle been cracked? What a terrifying boy! With such great power, how powerful he would be if he became a ghost. I am afraid he is not far away from the one I have never met before. The prostitute Taro looked at the two daggers full of cracks, and his hands began to tremble. Yuzui Tianyuan was horrified, and his body couldn't help shaking. The poison has been close to the heart, and the movement has been greatly slowed down. Seeing that the two of them fought fiercely, and Yuzui Tianyuan, who claimed to be powerful, found that he couldn't intervene. Is your body already so weak? I guess it will only hold you back if you go up. In this case, Yuzui Tianyuan looked around and found the two people who were struggling to deal with Fernji. Before the poison took hold, it would have been easy to deal with this female ghost, right? After looking at Fan Ye who was mercilessly crushing the prostitute Taro, Yuzui Tianyuan made up his mind and rushed towards the people above the ceiling. The breath of sound, the shape of Wu. The strings ring heavily. On the other side, Tan's hero recovered from the pain that was almost torn to pieces. Sure enough, is it still difficult for my body to bear the side effects of changing the breathing method? As he spoke, he walked into the ruins and anxiously looked for the wooden box he had placed here before. Miduze, where are you? Throwing the gravel on the ground, Ten's hero looked anxiously for his sister. His nose twitched slightly, but he smelled a disgusting smell. This is another ghost. Is it really the second ghost? Such a strong ghost spirit is the real winding, right? Tenshiro's movements stopped for a moment, looking for Miduze's figure more and more anxiously. After a while, he discovered the broken wooden box buried under the rubble. Opening the box, Miduze shivered slightly as she shrank. Very good. Ten's hero held Miduze in his arms. Miduze, just wait for me here. Mr. Tianyuan is dealing with ghosts, I have to rush there. After taking 2 steps, Ten's hero stopped and turned to look at Miduze again. Miduze, if I can't come back, just wait here. I have sent the message back to the Lord, and there will be a pillar level coming soon. After saying that, Ten's hero rushed out without looking back. Although I don't know if I can be of use, but, you must stick to it.